Thank you for tuning in. We are the Skytalkers Podcast, and we are going to be talking about the Star Wars trilogy by George Lucas. And the first chapter will be about the balance in the Force. We have...
So what are our names?
Oh yeah, we have some guests here. We have myself, No Martinez.
Tyler Ip.
Me, Cody.
And Berk. So, Tyler, what do you think balance in the Force means? Can light exist without darkness? And do you think Anakin brought balance back to the Force, like the prophecy stated?
In my opinion, I think that light can probably, to me at least, it cannot exist without darkness, because what are they going to do if they can't, fight off anything? They're just going to be...
I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They can't be doing anything.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they exist for a reason.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a balance, you know?
Yeah.
You can't have light dominate, you know?
Yeah,
Then it would be imbalanced, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So the balance is both sides. You can't have good without evil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, to that point, I think, if someone doesn't already know, the prophecy stated that Anakin was the chosen one. And the chosen one would bring balance to the Force, just like the Jedi Master said.
Yeah.
So, Anakin failed the Jedi Order, right? He sided with Palpatine, and he helped in taking out all the Jedis.
Yeah.
But there's a point to be made that he did in fact bring balance to the Force. Because it could be said that there was way too much light before that
it was
instance.
dominated.
It was dominated by light.
And then...
I think, personally, he did bring some balance. He increased the dark side, if you want to say. He took out the Jedis. It was way light-sided, light-heavy, light-dominated. And then he came in and made him more balanced, but maybe even imbalanced it towards the dark side.
Exactly.
So there was some truth in that he was going to bring balance to the Force, because it was imbalanced before he showed up. However, I think he might have went too far in balancing it.
Yeah, he went too far in the dark. Because before, remember, the Sith were hidden. They had to be secret, and then eventually the Jedi, when the Jedi were destroyed, the Jedi Order was destroyed, then all the Jedi were secret, and then they were replaced by the Sith and the, First Order, or the
Order 6.
The Galactic Empire.
So maybe it's not more of a balance where both they coexist at the same time, but more of a cycle, like many things in nature and in life. Like a probable example was the wolf and rabbit populations, right? One population gets too high, so they start to dwindle, and the other one gets higher and reaches the max, and then dwindles. It's more of a cycle than more of a balance, like a straight line. It's more of a up and down kind of thing.
I can see that.
Right?
And then, I can see that. And then he does, though, restore balance, I think, when he destroys himself and Palpatine, though.
Yes, you're right.
And when he kills off Palpatine and then throws him off the balcony.
Yeah, which he should have died, but Disney, Disney.
But then
they brought him back.
So I feel like that now the Jedi were destroyed, and then Anakin destroyed the Sith, including himself. So they're actually equal, equal.
So, if anyone, who do you think truly brought balance to the Force? Was it Anakin, Luke, Rey? Or was it a combination of everything, and they're just part of the cycle of, the ups and downs of it?
Well, I feel like you can't really explain for Rey, because after, when the movie ended, Rey pretty much just, it just cut off with Rey. You can't... She just saved the world, and that's it. There's nothing after.
She just saved the world.
Yeah, I think with Rey, it's not more of an up and down, too much light, and then the dark side takes over, and then light takes over again. Rey was more of a nice midpoint, I think, because she stopped. Well, Snoke died. Maybe she didn't stop Snoke, but she helped in it, and then she also took down Palpatine. And she was kind of. There aren't many Jedi left, but she's kind of a new generation of them. I'd say it's a new beginning. So I think you could say you could think of it as a new cycle beginning. The old cycle ended, and now we're at kind of a equal point, an equilibrium point. Maybe the beginning of a new cycle of either Jedi back to more Jedis in the Jedi Order, and then that could eventually lead to dark side taking over again.
So the whole cycle. Again.
Yeah, I think it's like a new cycle being formed.
Mm-hmm.
A different Jedi, a different force.
And then you could say Anakin and Luke were part of like the original cycle, with Anakin bringing back the dark side and Luke trying to stop it.
Luke was pretty much just fighting for the Jedi, though. He just like, he wasn't like Anakin where he didn't really have too many like crazy thoughts about turning to the dark side. But then like, you had Luke, who was just pretty much fighting for the Jedi only, didn't really have much thought about it, and yeah.
All right.
So, what do you think, Cody? Was the fall of Anakin the fault of the Jedi, or his own, or even his childhood and his upbringing?
I think that he kind of really did it on his own, and because like Palpatine did really manipulate him. However, there were certain things that Palpatine suggested to do, but never said to actually do, like kill the Padawans and stuff, kill all the younglings. And he never had to do that, but he still wanted to do that because of his anger and just being absolutely psychopathic.
So would you say his path was more psychopathic and selfish oriented, or do you side with him in wanting to save Padme?
I don't side with him, but I can
side
see.
with him.
Okay.
Why is that?
Do you want to talk about that now?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
I don't think he was totally psychopathic. I think he destroyed the younglings, the annoying younglings, because of it was necessary, to destroy the Jedi Order. You have to destroy the next generation. So it wasn't just out of I want to hurt kids. It's more like I need to.
So why wouldn't he just take them and enslave them and stuff like they did in the newer movies?
Oh, that's true. Why didn't he convert them?
Yeah.
Maybe they already were too far to be saved.
That is a good question. They were kids.
But they're also not fully developed.
Exactly.
And you can really easily manipulate them onto doing what you want them to do.
That's true, but
Maybe he was just stuck on his goal. He was given an order and he was just staying with it.
Yeah, because all he wanted to do at the time was pretty much to save Padme. That was his main goal, to save Padme.
He wanted to become the biggest
He didn't.
guy.
To be honest, he didn't even care about the Jedi or the being a Sith. He just cared about his love for Padme.
He wanted to keep Padme safe and stuff, but at the end, she was furthest from safe.
Yeah, she was.
But I think he had already many problems with himself, like being a slave and stuff, and getting abandonment issues and mom issues and stuff. And then it's not that Palpatine caused him to turn how he turned, but Palpatine knew his weaknesses, he knew his history, and he took advantage of that. He totally took advantage and maximized on what he was weak in.
So you think Palpatine's at fault here? Palpatine manipulated him, and maybe in combination with his childhood, right?
I think he's a big issue.
He played a big
factor.
part in Anakin's.
But do you think that it was only Palpatine, or do you think that? Why do you think that it's not just only?
It definitely wasn't just Palpatine, but it definitely had to do with Palpatine.
Because Anakin was the right candidate.
Do you think that if he never met Palpatine or ever tried to be with him, do you think that he would have done the same stuff he did?
Probably not. I don't think he would have.
Why is that?
It just because Palpatine drove him to the extreme, I think.
But then you could also think about his dreams that he had about his mom and how he dreamt about his mom dying.
But remember, I think that's something that Palpatine did. How in the sequels, how the visions and stuff were controlled by Snoke.
Oh,
I think
take on this.
Palpatine also had that same hold on Anakin. All those visions, even Padme dying. I feel like Anakin didn't even see that the future. It's more
Palpatine put that image?
Yeah, he poisoned him with thinking that he knew the future, but in reality Palpatine was showing him what he wanted to happen and what he was going to plan on happening.
Definitely,
which happened.
That's a very interesting take on it.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, I feel like that'd be hard to do because it would most definitely be that case if Padme didn't die, but the visions were true. I thought it was kind of a sad metaphor how he was seeing these visions and he tried everything to do to stop them, but in trying to stop Padme from dying, he caused it.
Exactly.
So I would think the visions are true. He is the one seeing the visions, like the Force is the one showing it to him, because it did come true. Palpatine couldn't have known that Padme was going to die. However, if he was seeing these visions of Padme dying, he went to Palpatine to get more power to save Padme, and then Padme didn't die, then it would look like it was fabricated. But it was true. The visions were true. So I think it'd be hard to do that.
Well, do you think maybe there's a theory out there that Palpatine killed Padme by taking her life form or life, like her life force or whatever?
Well, how would he do
you
that?
think that she died due to a broken heart or because of what you just said?
I don't know. There's like, if Anakin can't see the future and Palpatine like created everything, and he just made that happen. He made Padme die, which fulfilled the visions he saw.
Do you think Palpatine was the cause of his mom's death as well, or is that a stretch?
I don't know. That's also another thing.
Is that a theory?
Like, how did Anakin see his mom dying in Tuscan village and stuff? Did Palpatine have a role in that too? If Palpatine is the one creating these visions, then how did he know? That's another thing.
Maybe, because you could say a broken heart is like a broken soul. You could say the heart is maybe where your life force comes from. So if Palpatine was strong enough to be able to reach someone, or maybe Palpatine even found Padme somewhere, but if he could take her life force away, like you were saying, then that definition of dying with a broken heart could be true, like the doctor said at the end, after Padme died.
Yeah.
But Anakin doesn't really know that. When he turned to Darth Vader, Palpatine told him that that Anakin killed Padme out of anger. And not, because of she lost her love for Anakin.
He's wanting to put him in a deeper hole.
Exactly.
Making Anakin regret more than he should.
Yeah.
And have more anger and more sadness and more emotions.
It's exactly the ways of the Sith, yeah.
So, what do you guys think then, on that same note? Was the Jedi justified in their stance of having no personal attachments? Do you think the story would be different if Anakin followed that rule and didn't love Padme? Or would Palpatine found another way to manipulate him?
I think that's a big reason why Anakin he didn't totally follow the Jedi Order. Like he saw a lot of faults in the Jedi, and that's one of the reasons, because his love, which was the most important driving factor in his life, was something that the people that he identified with didn't even support. It was forbidden.
So that's what turned him away from them a little bit.
I think that's a
more.
big reason why he couldn't be committed. He wasn't loyal to the Jedi, and I think that's a big reason why.
That makes sense.
Also, the main reason why he did all the stuff he did was because of the love for Padme. So if he never had love at all at any time for Padme, then it would be much more difficult to manipulate him and turn him against the Jedi, because Palpatine was kind of saying that the Jedi were trying to kill Padme and get rid of her, and they didn't really like them anymore. But if the Jedi actually wanted to get Anakin back, then they would have had to have done so much in order to make him not love Padme. But ever since he was a young boy, he wanted to be with Padme. He fell in love with Padme, and every woman in his life, his mother and Padme, were just so close to him, and he really wanted the best for them and to keep them safe. But after his mother died, that kind of drove him insane. And then after Padme died, he was just fully the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
But is it fair to say that, to take like you saw the little kids training, is it fair to take kids away from their families? It sounds bad, but like I guess willingly take them away from their families and train them to be Jedis, and tell them to never love. Like it's a natural part of life.
Mm-hmm.
Is it fair to deprive them of that?
Well, no, because then how are they gonna make? It might be a little bit of a weird question, but like, how are there gonna be more Jedi in the future?
Well, Anakin was just chosen as the prophecy, and he wasn't really like, for all that we know, he wasn't really.
Yeah,
like,
but if you think about it, if he never loved Padme to begin with, Luke and Anakin wouldn't, or not Luke and Anakin, Luke and Leia would have never existed.
Also, remember, the Force is not like a light side thing. Usually we think of the Force as being, the light side, good, but also the Force can be bad, So if Anakin's the one restoring peace, we have to remember that, you have to think about it. If this person is the one who's going to balance the Force, he can't be too much on one side, he can't be too light, and he can't be too dark, He has to be somewhere kind of in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, I say.
Think about it. Like, if you're making the Force balanced, which means there's not too much light side dominated, not too dark side dominated, the person who's going to do it, can you expect them to be too light side dominated or too dark side dominated?
So you're saying like Anakin, like in the second movie where he was like both, like
he was like a mix, like a
he was
hybrid.
a mix of both. He was like he would always like obviously follow orders and stuff, but he always put his own twist on things.
Yes, exactly. Do you understand what I'm saying, Berk?
Yeah, that's a good question. So do you think the Sith are inherently evil in their philosophy, or are they just a different way to use the Force?
What do you think, Tyler?
Like, are the Sith evil? Are they just bad people, or is there a reason? Is there like a side of them that
Well, they want to be the strongest in the galaxy. They want to have all the power.
Yeah, they didn't want the Jedi to just have the power. Like they thought that maybe having the Jedi just having control of the galaxy just like wasn't fair to them, maybe, or something. That maybe made that decision.
It reminds me of the war in Gaza. There's just different sides. It's just the way you see it.
Mm-hmm.
Perspective,
Yeah. This wasn't stated very clearly in the movies, but the Sith had a philosophy of, well, the first is like a different way to use the Force, but they believed in passion and the strong surviving,
Yes.
the weak not. So that sounds harsh, but I think that's how it is in nature.
Natural selection.
Yeah. The Jedi, just as they be, like, saving the weak, giving yourself up to the cause, being this perfect person, is kind of unachievable. They're asking for a lot. While the Sith, you may look at them as, like, some people may say, oh, they're just evil, they kill people. It's a more natural way to live.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it is in nature all the time.
Oh. Like, you think, like, disorder and stuff? Like, entropy?
Yeah, they're not just going around killing people just because they're evil, just to be, like, they're evil just to be evil. They have a reason to. That's just, like, how nature is. They're kind of embodiment of that.
They kind of go by, they don't follow the rules. They make their own, they live by their own rules, their own
Lifestyle.
Yeah, the Jedi are very, like, strict, very, not a lot of, like, leg room and stuff, where you have to follow everything, you have to be obedient and all.
In order to become a Jedi, you have to like follow.
Yeah, and that could be a reason why Anakin left.
There's too much.
It was too much
Restriction.
Yeah.
He wanted to live his own life.
And they didn't see him for what he was. Like, he wanted to be powerful, and he was very powerful, but they wouldn't let him on the Jedi Master board. Not because he wasn't strong enough, but because he didn't match with their ideals.
Mm-hmm. And
So that was my.
he wouldn't be a
earlier
grandmaster.
question.
Yeah.
You know, like, do you think it's unfair that they have these kind of ideals for people?
Definitely.
I don't know. I mean, think about they kind of remind me of like monks. You know, they're very dedicated. They're very they do. Also, monks they're abstinent and stuff. You know, that's even
So
Jedi,
is that just
you
the
know?
price to pay for being a Jedi, for being the saviors of the universe?
Yeah, you have to sacrifice your own enjoyment, your own. It's like
Well, I mean, Anakin was kind of just kidnapped.
Yeah.
He was kind of just taken from his home and forced to go with what's his face.
Yeah, I mean
Obi-Wan.
that is a good point actually. A lot of kids like Anakin here being a Jedi and they're like, "Wow, this is amazing. I want to travel the world. I want to save people. This sounds great." But then they're put through this rigorous training and they're told you can only live a very specific way and they're put you put very harsh rules on them. And that's what made Anakin actually turn in the end. He got fed up.
Yeah,
And his
'cause-
love for Padme.
Because maybe his thought as being a slave, maybe he thought becoming a Jedi would pretty much free him from following rules and stuff.
oh wow, yeah.
But then
But
when
it was
he-
actually more rules to follow.
But then he ended up siding with the Jedi and then ended up having to follow many more directions and rules, which is why Anakin also in the second movie had choices of his own and also wanted to do things in his own way.
Yeah. That's a great point. Like him being a slave in the beginning of his life and stuff, and how that affected his later life. You know, being a slave on Tatooine and then being a slave on Coruscant or with the Jedi Order. You know, that's kind of childhood trauma and entrapment in oppression. I get that really they probably had a really bad feeling and connotation with the Jedi and the Order,
with how they tried to put a lot of rules on him.
Yeah, it reminds him of the slavery that he had to endure as a kid.
Yeah, that's a very unique way to think about it.
You want to move on to one last question?
Okay. We have a kind of personal question. Who do you think had a more tragic backstory, Kylo Ren or Darth Vader? Anakin Skywalker. Who do you think you side with more?
I would say probably. I mean, Anakin really was just straight up taken from his home, and he had to go through all that he went through. And Kylo Ren kind of just was born into that life and had that luxury of being a Jedi immediately. And the only thing that really stopped him from becoming at his full potential of being a Jedi was the fact that Luke sensed bad in him, and Luke wanted to kill him. But if you put that into perspective, Anakin was he was turned against by his mentor, his best friend, and somebody he really looked up to, and then eventually he has to live with the guilt that he killed his first love, and
His only love.
and is the mother of his children, and he kind of has to just live with that. Versus Kylo Ren, kind of just he was easily manipulated into being part of the good, versus Darth Vader. When Anakin turned into Darth Vader, Luke kind of had to show him that there is good in his heart, versus Kylo Ren was kind of continuously manipulated and easily manipulated into being part of the good. He killed Snoke and stuff, so
He also just instead of trying to talk to his dad, he just literally straight up killed him.
Well,
Yeah.
he was having trouble killing his dad. I think the way I interpret it is Han was the one who turned on the lightsaber. Because
Really?
Kylo Ren said, "I can't do it. I can't find the strength to do it.
Well, 'cause
Please."
Harrison doesn't like Star Wars.
And then Han Solo,
Okay.
I thought that's how it worked, because they were both holding the lightsaber, and Han Solo was he was begging. Well, no, Kylo Ren was begging Han Solo.
Really?
And then after the lightsaber went on, Kylo Ren said thank you, if I remember that correctly.
Yeah.
So the way I interpreted it is that he was saying, "I need to kill you, but I don't have the strength to do it. please do it for me.
Mhm.
And then he was even thanked Han for doing it.
He did say, whatever you need, like, I'll do it, like, whatever you want, He was saying-
Han Solo said that.
Yeah, he was
earlier?
saying, like,
Mhm.
I don't know how to do this. I don't think you can do this. Like, and he's like, whatever you need, It's like, it's sad,
Mm-hmm.
I guess that was like the ultimate price. Whatever you need was taking, helping Han Solo kill himself.
Let go of his confliction and stuff.
But if you really think about it, like, how did he feel afterwards? Like, Kylo Ren didn't really care that much. He kind of was just still after Rey and Finn, and it wasn't on his mind as much as, like, just killing them and getting rid of them and capturing them. But, like, even though he did, quote, kill his father, it didn't seem like he really cared that much. Like, in the moment, yes, he might have cared, but, like, afterwards, he didn't really care. However, if you compare it to Anakin and his trauma and stuff, Anakin really took in everything and thought about everything and really cried over everything that happened to him, versus Kylo Ren doesn't really show much emotion and probably doesn't have much. I mean, the only thing he really does is revive Rey and die, but it's not much else.
Yeah, Anakin's story was definitely more prolonged, and it seems like it was more tragic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Slavery, betrayal, his mom abandonment,
Yeah, a lot of
loss. The thing about Kylo Ren, he's just like, he was never like strong as he wanted to be. Like, he was always like compared
To Darth Vader.
Yeah, but he was never he was not even close,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He was short. He always fell short. So what he really struggled with was becoming this great this strong force that he always wanted to become. And that's kind of I don't know. That's what really was tragic about him, was that he never really, he was always trying to be stronger than
He never lived up to what other people expected.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think killing his father was also part of that, like, showing his power, because Snoke was starting to doubt him with his confliction. I think there was a conversation like that, and he knew he had to kill his father to prove himself.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And he definitely there was like points where he definitely thought he wasn't strong enough, because he would always get angry at himself. Like that one
Mhm.
scene in the elevator, he like smashed his helmet against the elevator wall.
Yeah, there's a lot of anger with him. A lot of scenes
Mhm.
where he's just like getting super mad.
Mm-hmm. He's always looking to his grandfather, Anakin. He has
Yeah.
with the mask and stuff.
With Anakin, there's a lot more like sad emotions, a lot
Yeah.
more depth to it. It's not just
Oh, yeah.
getting mad that you're not strong enough.
Exactly. They both had betrayal too, but it's like Anakin felt like he was betrayed by everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. While Kylo Ren only was just betrayed by Luke, because Luke thought he had like some sort of like darkness within him.
Yeah, and even then it was like a two-side kind of
Mhm.
thing. Like it two sides to the story. Kylo Ren thought he was trying to kill him, and he was like self-defense.
Yeah.
But Luke just
he-
thought about doing it, but actually was going to not. He felt bad.
Yeah.
Luke
that's why
actually stopped.
That's why Luke just like stood
Well, he
there
did turn on.
with the lightsaber.
He did ignite it though.
He ignited it, but he
just stood there with a
de-ignited
look.
it. He went back against his own thoughts.
He like stood there with a look.
He almost got impulsive from his nature. I think that he inherited from Anakin. His impulsive nature
Yeah.
resulting to violence and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think definitely Anakin has a more tragic backstory. After all, he is the central figure of Star Wars. He's the reason why we're here.
Yeah, there was a lot more episodes to elaborate on his story from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys.
That was
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
That was great.
That was a good
Thank
talk.
you all
That was
for
good.
coming, and
Of course.
thank you for tuning in to our show. And we hope that we can see you on the next one. This was the Skywalker Podcast. Thank you very much.
The Sky Talker!
Oh,
Skytalkers!
Sky Talker Podcast. Thank you very much.